assume that it's going to come at you straight and head on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we have to understand, people don't relinquish power peacefully. The establishment has a lot of power that they're abusing right now. We're dealing with criminals. We're dealing with individuals that have committed psyops, that have committed horrible atrocities on the people of the world, that have started wars, that have started literal gene splicing, chemical, biological warfare against the people. So we have to understand there's going to be something that's going to be happening here that we should be absolutely paying attention to as we're dealing with essentially a multi-trillion-dollar propaganda machine, but it is being wrecked by shit posters and memes.
Yeah.
It is being destroyed by individuals speaking truth to it. It is being destroyed by individuals coming together, coalescing and saying enough is enough of this bull crap. I am done. My life has value. I am standing up for myself. I am standing up for this country. And that is a danger to the establishment that they fear. And in that fear, we're dealing with a cornered animal. That cornered animal is dangerous, and they could act out in many different ways. And they're capable of anything. They're capable of something that we can't even imagine.
Luke's just cranking it right up to 11 right when we get started, so I can respect
the way you phrased that, by the way.
But in terms of what Tucker was just mentioning about war, I'm hearing a lot of talk about a potential full-scale war with Russia as something that could potentially subvert us in 2024.
Well, war means war powers for the people waging the war. So these are people who think only in terms of power, acquiring it, preventing you from having it. So they see it, I mean, you see war in terms of its human cost or maybe its geopolitical effect. They see war in terms of their own fortunes and their own power. So the second we're at war, and there's a long history of this in the West, when war broke out in 1940 in England, the government, later run by Winston Churchill, our hero, put the opposition party in prison with their families, where they stayed without charges. And that's been, you know, that's been Epsteined, it's gone as a fact, but that actually happened. So don't underestimate the ability of a government at war to use its new powers to criminally crush its opponents.
There's a journalist by the name of Steve Baker, who is a contributor to The Blaze, who has tweeted that he was instructed to turn himself in tomorrow for charges related to January 6th. This guy, you see a picture of him, he's wearing a suit, he's got glasses, he looks like your quintessential journalist. Richie McGinnis, who's a friend of ours and also a journalist who worked for The Caller, said this guy is unambiguously a journalist, and he told him only a few months ago, they'll never arrest you for this, but now they're doing it.
So how about no? I mean, when is the first person going to stand up and say, this is fake, this is political, I'm not submitting? I mean, I don't know, at some point they're going to force people to do that. Everyone in this room believes in the system, grew up in the system, was proud of the system for its unique fairness globally, unique. No system was fairer than ours. And that's the main thing that we were proud of as Americans, and no longer is. And it's transparently political, particularly the January 6th stuff. There's like, it's been 3 years, this is insane. And so someone at some point is gonna be like, I don't know, you're gonna have to Ruby Ridge me because I'm not playing along.
That's worrisome.
It is worse, but I'm saying like, why does everyone pretend like this ghost system, which is merely sort of a grotesque imitation of its former self, still is real? It's not real.
You're speaking my language. Everybody knows what 2 words I want to say, but I'll throw it to Charlie instead.
No, I mean, look, the Empire is going to strike back in 24. What that looks like, we don't know. And in 20, they did declare war. That's what COVID was. COVID was a domestic declaration of war that gave unelected bureaucrats unlimited power to change the voting laws. And they're going to try to do it in 2024. Probably a foreign war, but who knows? And we have to be prepared for that. If we want even a chance to win, and people ask all the time, do you think we're going to win? I have no idea.
Well, these rules are all still in place?
Yeah, I mean, mostly.
Universal mail-in voting?
We've minorly changed some things in Georgia, Wisconsin, some things. Arizona has gotten worse, actually. We've gotten less secure in our elections here in Arizona.
And also, let's not kid ourselves. There's probably going to be a psyop. There's probably going to be a false flag.
We're living through one.
There's probably going to be an agitation, and our reaction to the next thing, whatever that next thing is going to be critically important. And this is why I think there's such a massive effort to take down Twitter, to take down Rumble, to take away people's ability to call out the psyops in real time, which are happening right now. And I think the system is kind of scrambling because I think they had a lot of things down the pipeline, but they know they can't get away with it. It's a very dangerous gambit that they're playing right now, and I don't see things going well the longer this goes on and the more that we don't know what the future is going to be in front of us with, as they're desperate.
That's what waiting around is not the solution, because if we just petition them to, hey, please stop electronic voting, we can't see the code, please give us the code, it's not going to happen. We need to build systems that are better, or in parallel, like we could vote legitimately on the machine or wherever with paper, and then on a blockchain voluntarily. Like it would just take a lot of us to do it, and then we could check and see if they're accurate. And that would be one way to move forward.
This is tough. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what Tucker was saying. Yeah, let's not have electronic voting machines. Open source the code, do whatever you got to do. But there's a practical question of what can we do right now with less than a year in front of us?
The best thing is use X and Twitter because it's obviously a threat to them. They wouldn't want to shut it down or go after Elon if it wasn't working. The greatest hope we have in 2024 is we have a sliver of the public square back that we didn't have in 20. And that's why they're going to try to either indict Elon or they're just going to try to crash Twitter through a DDoS attack or some sort of foreign threat. They're going to try to take Twitter down by the summer.
The EU's going after him now.
Yeah,
they just announced this today,
obviously.
right?
No, people are saying things on Twitter that you're not allowed to say. And they're going very viral very quickly, and public opinion is changing too rapidly.
Can I just point out, I think it was Dave Smith who pointed this out to us on the show, that before Elon Musk purchased X, if you said men are not women, you would be banned. That actually happened. I mean, it is quite remarkable. To be fair, the gains we've gotten back, I mean, it's a tremendous loss for the fact that we could not say on one of the biggest social media platforms in the world, men aren't women. They actually banned Meghan Murphy for saying that, and just that. It's very innocuous.
I find Twitter is a vulnerability at this moment, the way it's built, the centralized system. So if we can decentralize that thing into a protocol and still use it, and it's fast enough, there's still issues with like Nostr where sending video is slow, but it doesn't mean it's always going to be slow. We can use mesh networks so that if we all have Twitter on our phone and 4 of our phones go down, the other 2 are going to keep the network going.
I do think that what Turning Point USA is doing right here is one of the most important things. Bringing people together. People are meeting each other all throughout this building and even in the streets, even at restaurants. Yes. That culture building is the most important thing because, as we all know, it's been quoted 50 billion times, Andrew Breitbart, politics is downstream from culture.
Someone told me this is like the RNC now. This is basically why not just this is the RNC, de facto.
I can't take that as a compliment. If you might have meant it as an insult. Would you call the RNC, Tucker? It's like NATO. It sucks huge amounts of cash and demands attention and does nothing useful.
Time to abolish it, and it subverts Poland in its. Yeah, comparing anything to the Republican National Committee or Convention is just.
It's an ugly slur.
Yeah.
It's an ugly slur.
I'll take it as what the RNC should be doing.
Say,
exactly.
Having been around this stuff my whole life and spent my whole life in Washington, the true corruption of the Republican Party, I don't know, it just took, I was like 10 years behind on that.
Speaking my language.
Remember that, man.
But now that I see it, I'm like, I can't even believe this exists. Because, by the way, in some ways it's more offensive than the Democratic Party because it's lying. The Democratic Party is just like, we're here to hurt you and belittle you, of course. But the Republican Party pretends to be on your side. They're like Quislings, but they're literally, the Republican Congress just allowed the Biden administration to spy on Republican voters. So, is there a bigger sign of the fact that they hate you every bit as much as the Democrats?
What I love about this, though, is I agree with you. However, if you are on the, how would I describe this, the lower end of the IQ bell curve, you don't understand what it is Democrats are saying they're doing. So, for instance, when they say they're going to have free trade, it's good for everybody. When they say we're going to increase environmental regulations and increase taxes, to the average person, they're like, this is good. It makes the rich pay their fair share. But to anybody who knows anything, they're like, hey, wait a minute. This is going to drive all of our manufacturing base overseas where they can ship their products back for dirt, pay people in China dirt, and have no environmental regulations. So this is why Trump takes actions when he did in his first term that resulted in a lot of manufacturing coming back. But see, we can understand that. And I'm not trying to be too much of a dick, but there's a lot of people who don't understand the basics. And I'm sorry, but sometimes I do argue with them on X, and they say, I remember this one conversation where a guy said, food comes from the store. And I said, yes, but where does that food come from? He says, what do you mean? It comes from the store. And I said, my God, help me.
I'll help you.
I was there for that conversation.
It was
I remember sitting there. It was like,
he's like, what do you mean? Milk's coming from the store? And I'm like, there's a supply chain.
I think you got to build trust, and it's challenging with someone you disagree with, but if they trust you, they're more willing to change their mind.
Do with a nuclear reactor, but they triggered the safety protocols.
Learning about the corruption.
The plant is going into lockdown.
And I kind of watched it in real time on TV in 2006, 7, 8, when the Iraq War was kind of lit up. And I remember you were into it. It seemed like you were on the side of the Republican, like George Bush and the movement. And then Jon Stewart came on one day, and you guys just had it out, and it was like humiliation. And he's like, please stop harming America. But the way you were looking at him was like really listening to him. Was that a moment?
No, I thought, and I still think that he's in mediocrity. And I think time is proving me right on that.
Absolutely.
But what's interesting is that by that point, but my views on Iraq, I had a daily TV show leading up to that war, and I had kind of endorsed it. I thought the way against terrorists, but I did that. I felt ashamed about it ever since. And I went to Iraq this month, and I got through the day they captured Saddam at Tikrit, and I watched the whole place fall apart. And I won't bore you with the details, but I realized that everything I'd advocated for was a complete lie. That this was a disaster that could only hurt my country, which is the only country I really care about. And by the way, it eliminated the entire Christian population of Iraq, which I guess we're not allowed to say. But if you're a Christian, you should care what happens to Christians globally. And I must say, they do bear the brunt of almost all of our foreign policy. And no one says that. It's happening now, happened in Syria. And it's like, shut up! You're not allowed to notice that. Why? I'm a Christian. And I care about other Christians. Why wouldn't I? And they do wind up bearing the disproportionate harm in our foreign policy adventures. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Honestly, I don't know the answer, but it's super evil.
Well, I feel like a large component, and I think you were saying this earlier, if not the component of what the culture war is the destruction of Christianity.
Of course.
Well, yeah,
Exactly.
It's a destruction of Christianity. There's also a destruction of innocence. Americans, unfortunately, will look at our foreign policy as if it's something entirely removed from our cultural realities and attitudes. But the truth is, we have promoted a callous disregard for human life over the course of decades because abortion was legal nationwide across this country prior to the overturning of Roe. And if you think sending women the message and men the message that they can wage war against their own unborn children does not have effects on the global stage, and that a person who doesn't have to care about the life of their unborn child is supposed to care about children in Gaza or Yemen, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
But unironically, a lot of these neocons, they're usually pro-life, even though they want to start World War III and they want to send your kids to fight a foreign war.
But that's why they're pro-life. They need more babies to go send to war.
Well, yes, I think that's also a component to it, but there's also a lot of hypocrisy because a lot of the chaos that was created by this foreign policy was deliberate. Dick Cheney in 1991 was specifically talking about why we can't get rid of Saddam Hussein because if we do, it's going to create chaos inside of the Middle East. It's going to kill the Christians. It's going to kill all the different sectarian Muslims there that are going to be fighting each other. It's going to make Iran more powerful in the region. It's going to create a vacuum. And they did it. They knowingly did it after 9/11. The Republicans, after 9/11, were on the wrong side of history, and they set up the institutions and the apparatuses that are now going after their other fellow Republicans and putting them in jail. And that's a hypocrisy that needs to be called out. And those people in that party need to be purged.
That's right. And there need to be consequences for the actions that they've taken. They have literally done everything they could have possibly done with the role that they had to destroy our country and ensure that the people do not have a prosperous future. And what happened? When we put all of the decision-making in the hands of people who pay no price when they're wrong.
I want to throw back to what you were saying, Tucker, about you being on the wrong side of that, you know, regretting it and all that stuff. I think everybody here now agrees, and that's why they tremendously respect you. And it's because you say things that are true. You learn things, and then you correct yourself. You evolve your opinions, and here you are. You know, many of us, we've watched you for so long. And you take a look at the other conservatives in the establishment with the rise of Donald Trump, and what did they do? All of a sudden now, they're indistinguishable from Democrats. They're the antithesis. They are the people who said, I don't care what's true or correct, I care about what grants me political power. And now we're looking at old neoconservatives who have effectively joined the Democratic Party, or super PACs that are going after Trump. And my favorite thing is when Trump, in 2020, after they announced Biden wins, you have groups like the Lincoln Project saying, oh, our fight's not over, it was never about Trump. Well, it's just a Democrat super PAC with old Republicans now saying whatever Democrats want to hear to make money.
Yeah. But I do think I agree with every word, and I work for some of the people that you're referring to, and it's horrifying to me to see them change. But I do think a lot of it has to do with what's going on inside them, and they won't admit when they're wrong, and that's a tragedy for the country, but it's also a tragedy for them. There's nothing better for you. There's nothing more liberating. There's nothing more joy-inspiring than being able to admit when you're wrong. It frees you from the burden of the mistake that you made. That's totally real. You don't have to be a religious person to believe it. It's the basic precept of AA. It's the basic precept of all true liberation movements begin with you admitting that you're probably not a super great person and you don't have unlimited power. It starts with you being honest about yourself. And if you can't do that, you are in a prison. And that's why they're also fearful. Every word is measured. They're afraid of saying the wrong things. Why? Because they're afraid of being exposed. If you tell the truth, you have no such fear. You're not afraid at all because you're out there. You don't even care. And if you hurt someone's feelings, if you say something stupid, which you will definitely do, you just apologize for it, and it's better. It's like, I don't understand. It's like not a hard concept, and no one in DC can do it.
Yeah, humility. It's a blessing to be able to be humble.
It's the greatest blessing.
I love that you guys
There's also a big distinction here that I think is very important to kind of call out here, because when we have these two sides, we have the establishment and we have the anti-establishment. The bigger distinction is one side is a bunch of bloodthirsty neoconservatives that want war and death and murder. The other side want, of course, none of that. They want peace. They are anti-war, principally anti-war. And for years now, there has always been an attack, no matter who you are, if you are anti-war. And I think this is a key issue that's going to be very important for this election cycle, because I do think something in Ukraine, something in Europe is going to be that galvanizing new Pearl Harbor-like event. And I think we need to speak up more, be more anti-war more than ever, because this is the key crux issue. And for years, Bill O'Reilly previously called me a jihad-loving liberal when I was criticizing the war. Chris Matthews, when I was criticizing the war a couple years later, called me a right-wing racist teabagger. So
You got a great resume, man.
I didn't change on my philosophy. I didn't change on my point of view. I have always been anti-war. I have always been anti-establishment. The system has always been pro-war, and that's the big distinction here.
You're living through a realignment that's promising, and Tucker, you helped lead it. You're sitting in a room that, watch this, we should not send one more dollar to Ukraine to that go-go dancer named Zelensky.
We never should have sent him a single dollar.
The issue is...
Hold on.
We should ask for the money back.
Hold on. You're sitting in a conservative event that is applauding for something. This has all been realigned. It's all changed. That an event like this that would have been predominantly conservative would have 20 years ago been totally on team neoliberal, and every thinker would have, maybe there might have been a little bit of contrarians here. And Tucker, what do you make of that? That all of a sudden the home of not just America First, but skepticism about these foreign wars and adventures now lives in the conservative movement.
Well, I think of course, it's mostly Trump who did that. And I was just, the pivotal moment in the last election,
You're in.
the 2016
We
election,
need to switch the
that
power
changed my
over
view
to
of
the new
everything,
grid.
was the night of the debate in Greenville, South Carolina, when Trump said, we didn't get anything out of the Iraq War, it was a mistake. And I remember all the dumbos on television covering politics like this thing, right? And so these are mouthfuls. And they immediately checked the notes. Oh, South Carolina is the highest military population per capita of any state.
You're going to need to expose the
And so they
transformers and
look
remove any
at, he
busted
said that in
pieces.
South Carolina. He criticized the Iraq War. He's going to get creamed in the primary. And I thought the people I know have been in Iraq, people served there, the people who are maddest about the Iraq War, the people whose
What the
lives
hell
were
was
disrupted
that?
or ended,
I think the floor is
were
electrified.
severely
Your step, Agent.
injured by that war. And of course he won. And it was at that moment, he won the South Carolina primary, it was at that moment that they decided, Bill Kristol and the rest of the dudes, who were starting to think about how to subvert this campaign and draw its energy for their own dark ends, they decided, we have to stop him, And that's when the realignment happened on the left, where Liz Cheney and Bill Kristol and all these people whose core problem is they could never admit that the great adventure of their life, the Iraq War, was wrong. They could never admit it. And if they just admitted it, Liz Cheney has lived with this burden, and she's obviously a bloodthirsty freak, but one of the reasons that she is a bloodthirsty freak is that she's never been able to be honest about her own complicity in this crime. And if she would be totally free of all that, and she'd be like a normal human being who her husband could love again, and it would just be all good. But she can't, and they're all like that. You know what I mean?
She was raised by them.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
The family business is invading other foreign countries.
Oh, I know.
And displacing millions of people, lying about it, and then...
But who would go into that business? Who would want that?
I think what they're...
Only a severely damaged person. The problem is inside them. I just think that's true.
I think they're trying to accrue resources, and it's either that they're trying to get the oil out of the Middle East or the poppies out of the Middle East. They want fuel, so that's why I push a lot of hydrogen and redevelopment of our hydrogen industry at home, so that we don't need to go steal resources elsewhere. The problem then is trade routes. They want to trade route into India, through the Mediterranean, and they want to secure this. That's a tough one to not.
Ian, you're being too logical here.
Yeah, also, so I just want to make a point here about the conservative anti-war movement and why I'm so optimistic about it. I'm a firm believer
You're good to go.
that an effective
Just need to
anti-war
switch over
movement
to the
has to
new
be
grid.
conservative.
Take
Because
a
when you
while.
look at the things people fight for, the things that motivate people to enlist, it's God, country, and family. And when the left is anti-war, the way they discuss it is God, country, and family are stupid, and you were an idiot for fighting for those things. And what conservatives can say is those things are valuable, those things are good, you're a brave and good person who was manipulated by liars who don't care about those things, and we're using you to profit.
Well, I do think you're half right, Seamus. What I often hear
It's better than usual.
Better than usual. But when the left talks about anti-war, there are people I know I've had conversations with, and I'll make sure I carve out respect for them. But typically it's this country, this war is an affront to family and faith and stability in the economy for the other country. America sucks, we hate America, America should be funding these
Yeah, a
things.
lot of this is not for profit. A lot of this is not for strategic American goals. I don't think these people care about America. These people literally go to the Bohemian Grove and do mock child sacrifices. They literally
Good
do
work,
spirit
Agent.
cooking
You
where
saved
they
the plan.
take bodily fluids
Move
and
to extraction
try to
point.
summon demons. They literally go to
Shoot off the
private
flares
islands
before
where
it
they
knows you're ready to
hurt
go.
little babies and children in unspeakable ways that we can't even mention here on this particular frickin' broadcast. These are evil, sinister human beings that I truly do believe are worshiping a larger outside entity, a satanic, evil entity. It sounds reductive to say that, but if you look at everything they do, it doesn't add up until you put in the kind of spiritual aspect to this. They have been hijacked. They are not real souls. They are individuals serving the greater evil.
I changed my answer to that.
Real quick, I want to ask a very quick question of everybody. Okay, Seamus, have you ever been arrested?
Oh man, why you gotta ask me that here? Yes.
You haven't? Okay,
Yeah.
Tucker,
Yeah.
have you ever been arrested?
I've been taken into custody twice.
So, Charlie,
Agent,
no?
stay
No?
frosty.
Okay. Have you ever been
Understand, honey.
detained? Have you ever stopped in question?
In Israel, yeah.
Okay, that means, and Ian, you've only ever been detained?
Yeah, my buddy had weed in the car.
That means
They
for
let me go.
everyone here on the stage, you have served. Oh, we know you've been arrested.
7 times for journalism.
Okay, this means
Got arrested on the way here.
that everyone here has done more time in any context than anyone on the Epstein client list or the Epstein client list.
It's like the liberal economic order, man. It's the least worst world order.
Shout out to Owen Schroyer for making that point.
But this is the issue that brings people together, and I want to kind of change this conversation a little bit, because if you look at left, right, center, everyone agrees, hey, what they were doing for decades with the FBI covering up child abuse, when the witnesses and people came to them and said, hey, this is happening, police officers, judges, prosecutors, politicians, celebrities, media moguls all played a part in it. Meghan McCain said that literally everyone in Washington knew what was going on. Everyone was afraid of Jeffrey Epstein. This is something that will bring everyone together and make people understand, hey, the system is rotten. It's corrupted, and it can't be fixed until we deal with this one single issue.
We've not only have heard these stories of Epstein, Lolita Express. Madison Cawthorn made some allegations.
Madison Cawthorn
Was right, because we all saw, as much as you probably didn't want to, that video out of the Senate, was the Hart Building hearing room floor, which was very disturbing, and I do hope they decontaminate that building. I mean that sincerely.
He should be arrested. What he did was worse than what 99.9% of people on January 6th. And he should be arrested and put in federal prison. I know, it's not beating a police officer. There's a couple people who did, but yeah.
Well, it is a desecration of the space. I mean, most January 6th people, I've interviewed a lot of them, as you have, and they're all, I mean, they were there because they believe in the system, because they all
That's
had
right.
pocket constitutions. They thought it was real, and they were so shocked to see their election stolen, which obviously it was, and that they marched on the Capitol. But they were there to uphold the system, and some did it imperfectly, and some got out of hand, of course. But this guy is there to degrade it, to defile it on purpose. Like, there's no reason to do that.
And let's
post it on
Kilo
the
inbound
internet.
to your location.
Let's make this distinction here as it pertains to January 6th. There were people who were violent. That's bad. You should be held criminally responsible if you're attacking cops. I agree with Charlie. There were people there who were let in by the cops, but knew that something violent was happening. But more importantly, I have spoken with many people who showed up an hour after any violence to cleared roads, no gates, doors wide open with cops smiling, welcomed them in and took selfies. And those people, I've met 2 of them, they're going to prison for 18 months. And they said, I showed up an hour later. It's a clear sidewalk. We walked up. There were people milling about. Cops opened the door. Weird shrugging. We walk inside for a few minutes. We walk out. No idea anything ever happened. Next thing we know, the feds are at our door. These are not people who even, as you described, Tucker, these are people who are just there to see Trump speak and happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
So how about Noah? I mean, when is some, honestly, I mean, we don't want to put anyone in jeopardy, but like, until people say we're just not playing along with this anymore, obviously Congress isn't going to help.
You know the problem,
They're
I
totally
think,
for it.
we talked before about religion. Christianity is like the battlefield of the culture war, and you were talking about demonism and Satanism creeping into the culture in a lot of ways. I think one of the problems with Christianity is that it encourages people to be subservient to a church, and then therefore subconsciously they become subservient to a government. Like, why aren't they saying no?
Well, a man has as many masters as he does vices, and the reality is you're a slave to something, and if you choose to be a slave to God as opposed to the government, you will be the most difficult possible man to conquer.
But it's the way they define God. You got to be aware that they're
We
not
didn't define
manipulating
God.
you.
He told us who he was.
I think Ian.
I agree.
But I don't disagree with Ian's point. But I think it would have to be refined in that there are people who masquerade, pretend, or don't truly understand, and would use faith to manipulate others. I mean, we see this in government, especially when Democrats claim to be the real Christians, but then say the church is in favor of, say, abortion or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm speaking from a thoroughly Protestant perspective, but I don't see, my reading of Christianity, just like the text, does not at all indicate loyalty to a church. It indicates fealty to God.
Yes.
And so, first of all, it's not incompatible with being a citizen at all. I think Christians make the best citizens, actually, and you can absolutely support your government and support your God. But if it comes down to it, if your government is actively opposing God, you really do have to make a choice between those two masters.
And I'll make a quick point. Sorry, Charlie. I'll make a quick point and shout out our good friend Bill Maher, because it's a point I've made frequently that whether Bill acknowledges it or not, as an atheist, his moral framework is built on Judeo-Christian values this country was
Does
founded on.
he say that now?
He doesn't, but it's a fact.
Well, Tom Holland wrote the book called Dominion, where he's an atheist secularist who said that we all have a Christian inheritance, whether you like it or not.
That's absolutely right.
Absolutely. Bill Maher believes in free speech. He believes in innocent until proven
Those
guilty.
are all Christian values.
Christian
Yes.
values, and I wanted to explore years ago why the founding fathers decided upon these amendments to the Constitution and the framework as it was, and you learn a lot about how the Bible influenced their views of what is just and moral.
And so just to, at the surface reading, you might say, oh, Christians aren't supposed to fight back against tyranny. Exodus 1, the midwives to the Hebrews, they disobeyed the order of Pharaoh where they said, throw all the babies in the river. They said, no, we're not going to do that. And God said, dealt well with them, it says in Exodus 1. Daniel 6, Daniel disobeyed the order, says, you can't pray anymore. He says, nope, I'm going to keep praying. And he opened up the window and prayed proudly, and it ended up in the lion's den. In Acts, it says, you obey God, not man. So look, throughout Christianity, we have seen, honestly, one of the most successful movements against tyranny are when Christians are brought to a breaking point. Christians can be very agreeable, and then as soon as that snaps, disobedience to tyrants is obedience to God.
I want to shout out Seamus real quick when he said you would be the most difficult man to conquer, and this is exactly why I think there is such a tremendous push against anything that is related to Christianity, because these are people who follow God, who obey God, and you need someone to be beholden to a man, because a man can change the rules at any moment.
That's right.
Yeah, well, and so you guys, I know you mentioned you're coming at it from a Protestant perspective. I'm the resident Catholic here, so I have a different perspective on the church, but I will say part of the reason I appreciate you so much and the things that you've said on air is because even though you're an Episcopalian, you're somehow like the most Catholic commentator on air. I find the things that you say about like economic justice and also social conservatism tend to line up very closely with the political values that I have as a Catholic. But I would say that, of course, as Christians, we should be good citizens and obey civil authorities when they are not asking us to do something evil. But as soon as you're commanded to do something evil, you have to resist that.
Yeah, the scriptures are very clear about that. You obey God, not
and the
man.
church tradition is very clear about that.
Tucker, you made some very interesting comments recently that has been going viral all over social media when you were specifically talking about UFOs. And you were specifically talking about something that is hard to kind of really understand here. I was wondering, what's your kind of take on all of this? Because I see this as a spiritual war. Do you see this as a spiritual war? What are your kind of core belief systems when it comes to addressing the larger evils of the system?
Well, as I so often do, I spoke incompletely. I didn't fully explain myself. In the clip that you're referring to, so many people have sent me an outrage that I basically said there are things that I know that I won't say, which of course is not exactly right. I don't know. I mean, I can't prove it, and I really do try to say things that I really believe are true and are provably so. And so that's kind of my hesitance. If I had facts, I would say them. It's my personal belief, based on a fair amount of evidence, that they're not aliens. They've always been here. And I do think it's spiritual. That's my view.
So-
and again, it's not provable, but based on the evidence, I think.
I'm with you, Doug.
Absolutely.
I'm
Well,
with
the
you.
military has been working in this realm for a very long time. They have been also trying to weaponize it. There's also a lot of crazy experiments that they did with DMT, hooking people up essentially to DMT IVs, having people go off into the spiritual realm. So if you're not paying attention, you don't understand that there's a larger kind of energetic frequency and battle happening.
But
all of
can I say one thing? If the U.S. government has in fact had direct contact with these beings, whatever they are, I've already told you what I think they are, and has entered into some sort of agreement with them, which is the claim of informed people, I would say, whether they're right or wrong, I can't say conclusively. But if that is true, I mean, it's a very, very, very heavy thing.
Yeah. A lot of people say interdimensional beings.
Right. I want to ask: Are angels and demons, or how would you describe these beings?
You know, these are, again, I'm getting into the realm of conjecture, so I just want to say that flat out.
Entity.
But one thing I know for a dead certain fact, having seen it, is that there is good and evil. We're being acted upon at all times. And I think every person can feel that in himself. I mean, there are moments when you are moved to do things that are much better than you actually are, and that are also more evil and destructive than you actually are. You are subject to forces from outside yourself. That is absolutely true. Now, we can argue about what they are, but every person in the room, if he's reflective, will tell you, yes, I know what you're talking about. And so there are forces that are not human, that do exist in a spiritual realm of some kind, that we cannot see, and that when you think about it, sort of make you think we live in an ant farm.
Yeah.
Right? And that's that is real,
Yeah.
okay?
And there's many artists also talking about how essentially what they do in their greatest works of art is usually done through channeling.
Of course.
So-
and there is an aspect
Not
of this
freedom
that I think
chins, by the way.
yeah, but definitely not that
Well,
much
he's
more.
channeling-
We haven't made
Not that
any
good yet.
By the way, every artist will tell you that.
Exactly.
Every artist.
That something happened that they're
truth
not
says
themselves,
it
that
triggered
they
a
just
lockdown of the
were
planet.
doing their
They've
art
been
and then
taking over
something just
infrastructure to
went.
legitimately.
No, and it's not just visual arts.
If they
It's
control the
every
power,
creative
they control
act
this region.
brings you closer to something outside the human realm, and you can feel it, whether it's
We need to find a way to
woodworking,
relieve the
writing,
pressure and fix the
or
reactor's
painting a
cooling
painting,
system.
or writing an opera, or writing a rap song, or whatever. Anything that is true and beautiful, or anything that is dark and destructive, is almost certainly a product of forces acting upon it. and you can feel it.
God created us to participate in creation with him, to participate in his creativity and make things. And since everyone here is cool, I'll say this. With respect to demons and spiritual forces, there's a priest whose last I towards the end of his career, he's relatively controversial, but he was an exorcist by the name of Malachi Martin. And one thing he said about exorcism cases is that in films, you see all of these over-the-top portrayals of head spinning and vomiting. And he said when it comes to things like vomiting and all of these supernatural visual indicators of possession, that those are the cases that are the most mild because the soul's trying to fight back. And with forms of perfect possession, the most dangerous forms of possession, you can't tell when you look at the person. Because they're perfectly content with the evil thing they're doing. And then you look at the way people in D.C. act, you look at the way our political leaders act, and you go, is it that much of a stretch to say some of the people, if this is not some crazy outsider belief, Jesus performs exorcisms in the Bible. Like, this is not something that Christians
And does it make you wonder that no doctor has ever been able to explain where exactly schizophrenia comes
That's
from?
exactly.
And that we cannot treat it, we can suppress it, we cannot treat it, and there's no kind of baseline for it at all. The science has not penetrated schizophrenia, so like, what is that?
Well, that is the other thing. And that's because, in my view, as a 28-year-old cartoonist who knows basically nothing about the world, but if I would be so bold as to speculate on this, I think part of that is the problem with psychology is it doesn't take into account that the human person is a body-soul composite, and that you're not just chemical reactions happening at the level of the brain in a series of tangled-up pathologies that produce certain behaviors and states of consciousness. You have a soul. There is a spiritual component to you that can be acted on by outside spiritual forces.
When I was younger, I 18, 19, 20, I very much fell into this. There is no good and evil. It's competing interests. Some people think the other person's evil because their interests don't align and they have different worldviews. And as I got older, especially with the past 8 years, my worldview fundamentally changed. And there's one man I owe a great deal for revealing to me the evils of the world. That's Adam Schiff. He is a liar, a cheater, a deceiver, a manipulator. I mean, I was so shocked to see this guy on TV lie in the way he does to destroy. And I call him out because it's an easy name to throw him out. But there are so many people that I'm shocked to see particularly on the left with liberals, and now the neocons have joined them, who I'm shocked when I'm like, these people know they're lying. They know what they're doing will drive us to a path of destruction. For what logical purpose? None. And let me give you a quick story. When I was at Occupy Wall Street, this was one of my formative moments. Here I am, 25 years old, really still kind of believing a lot of, good and evil is subjective. And I met someone who worked for a major media corporate press publication who explained to me, as they write and support the movement, they were nihilists. And so their intention was to watch the world burn down. And I'm not exaggerating. They said, nothing matters. You can prove nothing. So wouldn't it just be fun to watch it all burn? And I said, no, that's horrifying. If nothing matters, make your purpose and make things better and make things beneficial and make it flourish. And that's when I started to think to myself, this person's writing for a major corporate press outlet. And it starts to come into clearer picture for me as I'm seeing this throughout my career. There actually are people who are legitimate, malicious evil, whose intention is to cause suffering to others. And I think, fair point, you look at serial killers and other crazy people, but there's real evil.
There's more sociopaths per capita in Washington, D.C. than anywhere else in the world. That's not an accident, okay? These are the people that you put in charge of your life. And this is where I come as an anarchist and once again try to remind all you amazing people, the solutions are usually within you taking personal responsibility for yourself. If you give the government, even if you give them anything, they will absolutely take it and abuse it for their own personal benefit. I want to get to Seamus' point here really quickly, because what you talked about, some people talk about frequencies, some people talk about energies, some people describe it as souls. I do agree. You do have a frequency, but you decide where that frequency goes, how it's affected, what its impact on the world it will have, and that choice is everyone's. And I think the more we start looking at ourselves and how we could be better and less government intervening in our lives, then the true change will happen in our society when we no longer will need government.
Let's talk about 2024. We've got polls claiming Nikki Haley is doing very well and gaining ground. Not that I think she will defeat Donald Trump.
You guys like Nikki?
That's right. There you go.
Fan favorite.
No,
You guys are fans?
And it's unsurprising. I mean, this somebody goes on stage and advocates for war and lies about the intentions of Russia as it pertains to Ukraine.
She's an accomplished woman, and you should stop insulting her.
And Vivek Ramaswamy has a problem with women for calling out facts.
That was a Chris Christie quote, by the way. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He said that at the debate. All right.
However, I was asked a difficult question last night because I think it was Steve Bannon who said Trump's going to choose a woman.
10 minutes
And
to lockdown.
with
Evacuate
the polls that are
facility.
coming out, someone asked me, would you vote for Trump if he chose Nikki as VP? And
Would you
people
guys
saying
vote
no?
for Trump?
Well, that's the question that I asked you specifically.
Well, I
Let's-
would not only not vote for that ticket, I would advocate against it as strongly as I could.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's just poison. I mean, here's someone who's actively opposed to the interests of the country I grew up in, who endorsed the BLM riots, and who is not only is not left, but is neoliberal in the darkest, most, speaking of nihilistic way, and has no real popular support. Is a creature of the oligarchs. So yeah, that would be reason to oppose the ticket.
Even Trump, Haley is a no-go.
Nikki Haley.
He would get assassinated immediately if that were the case.
Yeah, and by the way, I just can't imagine a world where that could happen. That would be so crazy. I mean, anything could happen, of course, but picking Nikki Haley, who's utterly treacherous and utterly dismissive
Christine,
of like the interests of Americans. Yeah.
It's a no-go for me, but it's a yes for BlackRock and State Street. I really do love her. But
Don't forget Vanguard.
But I want to turn the question to everyone here, and just really quickly, who would you guys like to see as Trump's VP? As a
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
Probably the vice president.
I have the. I know
who
what
do you
they
guys-
think. I have the straw poll results.
But before the straw poll results, let's go around. Who do you want to see as VP?
I'm a big fan of Vivek Ramaswamy.
Charlie?
I'm sitting next to who I think should be vice president.
Me? I mean, I agree with you.
I'd vote for that.
I think Tucker makes a lot of sense for vice president. I said it publicly. But the case,
I kind of like Vivek. I think he's one of those people who everyone beats up on Vivek for being he's a phony and all this stuff. I don't know. I've covered a lot of campaigns going back to 1992. The process of running for president and speaking 3 times a day and having people throw hostile questions in your face causes you to change the whole change. Like for real, inside. And I I feel like Vivek's positions have gotten much more sincere since the beginning of this. Like I watch him with Nikki Haley, and I'm like, this is a guy who's very offended by her views, like, for real. He's not attacking her because she's a woman. He's attacking her because he actually thinks her views are terrible for the country. And I love that.
So is that a no? You're not gonna.
No, I mean, it's like the weather. I can't control that. I don't think I'd be that great at it.
Well,
Who do you want to see as VP?
so I think, you know, we talked a bit about this for a long time and often have entertained Vivek Ramaswamy, but then when Trump Carlson popped up, we all kind of lit up like that would be amazing. But I think it's because when we were talking about DeSantis so long ago, it was because we were looking for someone who was less the wild card. Trump is a very strong personality, and we were looking for someone that would be a stabilizing force. Vivek is very much like that. Ron, I think his campaign has kind of been very poorly run. I'm trying to be nice here. And then we look to Tucker Carlson. Tucker, you've got your finger on the pulse probably better than anybody else in the country.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do care about the country. I know the country pretty well, very well. Actually, it's like the one thing I know a lot about. And I think that kind of disqualifies me right there. But can I just ask a question, since you all are so on the internet and like I'm not that much? You really get the sense that Ron DeSantis, who I liked as governor, the people who represent him online are the nastiest, the stupidest, and the most zero-sum people I've ever seen in my life. And I don't think that reflects him, but it's like, this is kind of small ball. And by the way, these purported conservatives, Ron DeSantis changed his view, and I like him, okay? I think he's been a good governor. I just want to be clear about that. I know him personally, I like him. But his donor, Ken Griffin, told him to change his view on Ukraine from it's a regional conflict we shouldn't get involved in to it's a super important thing, we should send more money. One donor got him to change his view, and all these so-called conservatives are supporting that like it's the most important thing ever. Like, who are these people and what is their problem? Like, what is going on with them?
It does reflect on Ron, because Ron should have fired the people running his campaign a long time ago. Look, I respect that he wanted to launch his campaign on X, on Twitter Spaces at the time, and it failed miserably. This is a mistake. And now you've got, look, I know a lot of people groaned, a lot of people laughed, the high heels, you know, boots scandal. I mean, who's giving this guy advice and why does he keep taking it? Because I will say it politically and policy-wise, we love Ron DeSantis. He's done an amazing job. But his campaign is a train wreck.
Yeah. Well, and so I can speak to this just having experienced some of the,
So your supporters
online. That's literally what I'm saying. Of course, thank you. No, so with the DeSantis situation, again, like I know people who work for his campaign who are good people who I really like, but that said, I have not gotten more like angry, petty pushback from Anons online ever for pushing back against any politician than I have when I've made comments about DeSantis that were really pretty benign. I remember when he was announcing his campaign, one thing I said is, look, you know, when I see Trump tear DeSantis apart or make fun of him, it doesn't thrill me the way him destroying Jeb Bush thrilled me, because I think that both Trump and DeSantis are successful. That's good for the Republican Party, and it's a shame that they've been pitted against one another.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and I said that, and then I said, here's the reality about DeSantis. I should have been agreeing with everything he was saying in his campaign speech when he first announced, and I was bored to tears, and they need to get somebody to help him with his delivery so he can be more charismatic, because that matters to people. I think that's a pretty benign piece of constructive criticism, and I was just flooded with angry replies from his followers, and it was so strange to me because I've said far harsher things about other Republican candidates, and I have not experienced even a small fraction of pushback.
They're madder at you than Joe Biden.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that?
It's like, and I, by the way, as someone who is generally like Trump, I've made fun of and pushed back against Trump too, and my fans who really like Trump enjoyed it. They thought it was funny, or they agreed.
I make fun of Trump all the time.
Yeah,
That's okay. He's a person. Hey, no one is God, okay? Lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, my conspiracy theory is that the people online are actually Trump supporters masquerading as DeSantis supporters to just make everybody hate him. I'm like, it's the only explanation. I mean, come on. At a certain point, you have to realize that, like, we're talking about his campaign and his high level step. At a certain point, you have to realize that he's failing. I mean, polls are going down. He's being like in the polls. If you don't trust the polls, I'm like, at a certain point, do a 180 and stop. It's not working. But they keep doing the exact same thing. Yeah. But I'll tell you, I had a realization the other day because I saw this tweet from Laura Loomer, which purportedly came from Christina Pushaw, but it appeared to be fake. And I tweeted, no, there's no way this can be real. Christina Pushaw then retweeted a fake version supposedly coming from Laura Loomer. Now, at this point, it's clearly fake because it was a manipulation on what Laura posted. So I call that out, saying, These people are the scumbags they claim the Trump people are. And I get this pushback where they say, you seem to have ignored the fact the Trump campaign did this first. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Figured it out. Laura Loomer is not the Trump campaign. She's Trump's biggest fan. She does a lot of work in support of Trump. But she is outside of the campaign. And she is not on the same level as Trump's campaign staff and press secretary. Christina Bashar for Ron DeSantis is his second in command, who is acting on the internet as though she is on the same level as Laura Loomer is, despite Laura not being part of Trump's campaign. So, and I'm saying this not to be disrespectful to anybody. What I'm saying is, if you are running a presidential campaign, but you think your path to victory is to argue with fans of your opponent online, you have put yourself way below the standards of that governor you're representing.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out that might be a possible explanatory factor here. The great and insightful Orrin McIntyre said this, so I'll give him credit, but the DeSantis campaign has effectively become a shelling point for all of the elements within the Republican Party that just hated Trump. So even though DeSantis has great policies because they see it as a very us versus him type of thing, a lot of people in the Republican Party who we would agree shouldn't have a place in it have migrated to his campaign, and I don't think they've advised him well.
I think that it is very clear that there's some ineptitude going around in DeSantis' campaign, but that you brought up, Tim, that there's some sort of malfeasance, that people are in there manipulating the scenes. Like, we have AI twisting people's thoughts about DeSantis constantly. Comments, retweets. AI could be retweeting other AIs that are, or even machine learning algorithms that are like making him look really bad on purpose, or vice versa. I mean,
Or he has autism.
But let's get into this. One of the scariest things I think we're seeing now is the potential for what, Steve Bannon talks about quite a bit, the singularity. We're getting, let me start from the beginning. There's something called dead internet theory. Tuck, have you ever heard of this?
No. I'd be the last to know.
It's an idea that...
He's flexing that he goes outside, by the way.
Yeah, right.
He's like, you guys look pale enough. Can you answer internet questions for me?
So, dead internet theory believes that around 2016 is when we saw a shift from real people on the internet into AI bots and sock puppets. Sock puppets are, one person will run 50 accounts to try and manipulate public opinion. And maybe Elon Musk is working very hard to get bots off of X to try and create a genuine conversation. But as we're now to the point where we have these large language models, and a lot of them, especially Grok, now Grok is new, the potential that you are not even talking to a person when you're debating online is nearing 100%. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this AI future and with these fears in mind.
Well, I mean, it's hard to sort of ignore the instinct that we're approaching something horrible and final. I mean, I don't understand how you could, in good conscience, build something. It's so tower babble, so transparently.
We'll need a team of engineers to
It's
get
so
it back online.
transparently insane. And of course, we now reports that the people building
Shoot out the
it,
fire when
worshiping
you're ready
it,
for Torres to bring you home.
obviously it is. And that feels to me like the craziest, most reckless thing people have ever done. And I think the chance that ends in tears is 100%.
Little G, though.
And so, but also it's like technological progress. I don't know, we've had quite a bit of it. And this country's become much worse in every measurable way since I was a child with much less technological progress. So, and I'm sorry, I know we have tech people here. I have friends who are professional technologists. They're very excited about technology. But where's the evidence that it's a good thing? I mean, where's the evidence? Even the public health has declined. They used to say, well, at least we'll cure cancer. Okay. But that's not happening. People are we have more cancer, actually.
More obesity, more suicide.
Exactly. So just show me the place where technology in the last 20 years has made people happier.
I think it's...
And I don't think there is such a place.
Well,
so maybe we should rethink our core assumptions about technology.
I agree, but I do think we have serious cultural problems, and I wonder if perhaps the argument is a culture will be destroyed through technology in this way, particularly communications technology. It starts with the printing press, which we say was great, then the radio, it was fantastic. Then television, oh, how awesome, and now the internet, it's changed everything. But it does seem like it's becoming noise and static and pure chaos from it. I'm wondering if it is an impossible solution or if we've just not found the solution.
It's a neutral force. It's just like the atom bomb is neutral.
I don't agree with that.
If it's in the hands of evil, it will be used for evil.
It's not a plow.
It is in the hands of evil.
Do you really think that? Because here, solve this mystery for me. Creativity pretty much died in the West in August of 1945 when we bombed Hiroshima and then Nagasaki. So I don't know, maybe I'm the only person who's interested in this, but the death of creativity in the United States is very jarring to me. That's true in literature. Name 3 great novels written since 1945 in English. Oh, you can't. Name 10 great public works projects since 1945. Oh, not possible. Something changed fundamentally since we dropped that bomb. And I don't think I'm imagining it. And by the way, if you have counter evidence to wreck my theories, please give it to me. But I do think something about the godlike powers of nuclear weapons convince people they are God. I think there may be some spiritual force in effect there. But whatever it is, that moment changed this country and the entire West forever and diminished it forever. And I grew up defending the bombing in Japan with the atomic weapons. Oh, we couldn't deal with an invasion or whatever. Now I'm thinking, in what way, how insane was I to defend dropping a nuclear bomb on people? If you find yourself defending that, you're a freak.
But I'm wondering if it's not the nuclear bombs, but television. The expansion of television. I've often half-joked that the 90s was the last decade. And I think it's probably due to the internet. The decentralization of communications through the internet results in no cohesive, visible culture in this country. You look at the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you see a unique culture that exists in America. After the 90s, with the explosion of the internet, now it's, I gotta tell you, we went to the mall a couple days ago, and it really does blow my mind that I see a Hot Topic, and I guarantee you, Jack Skellington is in the window. That's a 30-year-old movie still being sold to kids who have no idea what it is. There's a viral TikTok where a young woman's wearing a Nirvana shirt. I don't even know what this is. I just buy it anyway. It's almost like television around that era does something to creativity by homogenizing everything.
But we don't understand this. I mean, look, the creative force is the life force.
Serious trauma.
And by the way, it's closely related to the sex impulse, which ultimately is a creative force to create new people. That's exactly right. So if you see a decline in or a death of the creative force, what you're looking at is death of the culture and or society. And there is no question, this is one manifestation of it. We have seen the death of the creative impulse in the West. And that is like an emergency, a tragedy, a history-changing event, and it's never acknowledged.
As you were saying that, it clicked for me. It's contraceptives. It is the development of reliable and effective methods of artificial contraceptives and their legalization across the country.
I was going to say, get your head out of the gutter.
No, it's true. No, it's a reality.
Catholic.
Because and this is something all Christians believed 100 years ago and prior. One of the most intimate and productive, literally productive things human beings do together. You are collaborating with God in the creation of new human persons whose souls will last longer than all of the stars in the universe. And we took that and we turned it into playtime. We said, this is for fun. This is for feeling good. This is not about making things. And we thought that wouldn't affect our psychology. We thought that wouldn't strip us of our creative impulse. When we spit in the face of our Creator in one of the most fundamental ways, He asks us to collaborate with Him in the creation of new things.
It destroyed the beauty from it.
Let me make it a little bit more secular, though. Without people having children, they detach themselves from responsibility, from purpose, and from work. And now we have these videos of people being like, I'm a dink, I just do nothing. You've got Chelsea Handler saying, I wake up, do drugs, and masturbate, and then go back to bed. I don't do anything. There's no reason for creation.
I bet she doesn't masturbate. She's too soulless.
Well, for sure. But my point is, I agree. Around this point, when you start getting the lack of, when you have people who intentionally do not have children, you look at a lot of these videos and you see there's a through line. People who don't have kids lean a certain direction. They're not working hard for something because they don't have that responsibility.
I think it is TV, man. I think it's TV and now video games. And it's people, there's a difference between making television and watching it. And if you just sit around and watch it, you're not creating. You might be learning, so you might be creating neural pathways, but really the creative spark is within you.
Or maybe it's just modernity.
Wait, but where's the technology in the last, say, 25 years that's elevated people and made their lives better and made them more fully human?
I think internet can, if you use it right.
Has it anywhere? Can you name an example of where technology in the and I will grant you antibiotics, okay, and electricity, great. I have some questions about electricity, but antibiotics seem good. But
and fever.
Give me an example, like as this all sort of accelerates, right? Exponentially, literally exponentially, the development of technology, has there been any place that you can point to globally where it's been a force for good?
I think the decentralization of journalism with the internet has blown the lid on the entire liberal economic order's plans that they've had for the last 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, that's good, but that's pushing back against the society that technology created.
But this is the point I wanted to make. it's easy to say, oh, look, we're broadcasting live right now to so many people. But Tucker's question, what has benefited humanity? I can't say the internet has, because it seems to be at best neutral, because it's also been weaponized by deep state elements on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, to silence people at the exact same time and create fake narratives.
It doesn't just silence them, it dumbs them down and also bastardizes them. It also promotes pornography, especially to children.
Absolutely.
It destroys their innocence. So I would kind of agree with Tucker here when it comes to this. And a lot of this sometimes has to do with short-term pleasures over long-term pleasures. But I think a lot of it also has a lot to do with a larger chemical castration that is happening systematically of the average male. If you look at sperm counts, they are dramatically going down. The average 22-year-old has lower testosterone than the average 70-year-old in the 1980s. That's not a coincidence. As of course, men with low T are more easy to be conquered and controlled and dominated and enslaved. There's a reason that I think there's a larger biological war out there, and whether it's fought with seed oils or high fructose corn syrup or with aspartame,
Plastic water bottles.
plastic, PFAs, forever chemicals, whatever you might call it, there is a direct attack on your testosterone,
Poisoning,
on your
obvious.
balls, on your frickin' sperm levels, on your masculinity. If you're a male, there's nothing toxic about your masculinity. And I think we need to prioritize health
the
more than
sometimes.
ever.
The smell
Remember when we were
sometimes.
kids and they said, don't eat Butterfinger and Mountain Dew at the same time, it'll lower your sperm count? We all got scared. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
I mean, here we are now, and it's like definitively, the chemicals leaching into your food through plastics do this, and everyone's like, oh, is it really doing that?
It's like the benefits
It's not-
outweigh the consequences.
It doesn't just
Water.
give you Bill Gates moobs, okay? It destroys any kind of resistance to the system.
He
So-
says as he's drinking coconut water from a plastic bottle. Yeah. But I mean no
He's
disrespect.
gonna grow some coconuts.
Yeah.
No, but for us back at the studio, we bought reusable glass bottles. Hey, we're recycling. Look at that. We reuse. You refill your glass bottle with filtered water. But also, we want to reduce how much plastic we have attached to the food we're eating.
But may I suggest one other downside, not to be dark about it, but technology has enabled the creation of a surveillance state that so outpaces anything East Germany even attempted, that the net effect, and ask yourself if you thought this recently, is that no one feels free to express unapproved thoughts, even in private, because you're being listened to, or that you could be listened to. And what is the effect on the human and the human soul when there's no place for you to honestly express yourself? Liberty is, impossible without privacy. You have to have, if there was no door in your bathroom or no on your bedroom, would you feel free? Of course not. That's solitary confinement in prison. So the loss of our privacy is not some weird esoteric thing the ACLU used to care about. It's like, it's foundational.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely correct. And one thing I firmly believe is that tyranny is fundamentally anti-intimacy. If there are people you trust and have genuinely intimate relationships with, you can tell things, you can share your real thoughts with, then you are a harder person to control, because other people are there to tell you that you're not crazy for noticing things that they're noticing as well. And what we have done with intimacy is, firstly, we've turned it into a euphemism for sex. And anytime someone has an intimate relationship with a genuine friend, we make jokes about them being homosexual with that person, or if it's a friend of the opposite sex, or even their spouse, if they have like a genuinely loving, caring relationship with their spouse where they bare their souls out to one another, we see that as strange. That should be somebody you just use for sex and not someone who you like actually have a deep spiritual connection with. And I think that's part of why pornography is so important to those in power, is because it strips one of the most intimate things people do of its intimacy.
It's been weaponized.
Rather, in the words of Carol Wojtyla, rather than showing too much of a person, pornography shows too little of a person. It strips the human dignity away from the subject. And again, I will go back to contraceptives. It does it with contraceptives. You're not rolling the dice when you're with this person. You're not rolling the dice and saying, this is someone I'm willing to bring life into the world with.
You're making a strong case for the papacy, I have to say. I've always made fun of it.
They say that
they're getting me.
we're in the apocalypse, or that we're entering the apocalypse.
You want to hear the strongest case for the papacy I've heard, by the way, Tucker? This is from, I believe this was Bellick, and he said, part of the reason I know the Catholic Church is the true church founded by Jesus Christ is because no organization run so incompetently for 2,000 years could still possibly survive.
Well, it's funny. I'm coming at it from some of my closest friends. Some of my closest friends are Catholics, but actually that's true. And there's so many things that I love about the Catholic Church. But I'm not pro the Pope. Okay, I'm just not. And so a couple people have pushed me and
Papacy or this Pope?
Both.
Both?
Probably both. But I'll just be honest. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm just very offended by this Pope, okay? So I've said that to a couple people, close friends of mine who are Catholic, who said, oh yeah, we are too. And I was like, well, how?
They're more offended than you, Tucker.
Yeah, they're more offended. Exactly. You know, that's insightful. They're more offended than I am. And I said, well, okay, I was offended by the Episcopal Church. I left. And I love not being in that church. But they said, no, the church is far bigger than this guy. We've had a lot of bad popes, actually.
Exactly.
And I love that attitude. Just saying.
Yeah.
We're in this thing called the apocalypse, I think, right now. It's
We
called-
could be in the end times.
And it's like the great revealment, really, is what the term means. And it's like the truth. We talk about honesty. And if you're going to hide and have secrets, is it righteous or just to force your secrets into the open so that now you're forced to be honest with like a neural net? And we're all honest with each other at all times? Is that too far? Because I kind of agree that
Seems like TMI.
liberty.
Yeah.
But the liars, what do you do?
Well, I don't even know what
What
a
do you-
neural net is, but I want to say conclusively I'm opposed to it.
Yeah, Elon's working on it.
That's why in Christianity, you only want a loving God to know your thoughts.
And Nikki Haley wants to know everything.
If an unloving thing sees your thoughts, imagine what would happen.
A neural net would be like a brain-computer interface where you're sending commands and receiving commands from machines in real time with your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm not going to be an early adapter of that.
Well, that's
either.
the danger of the AI and the artificial intelligence. As many world leaders said, whoever controls artificial intelligence first will control the world. Vladimir Putin said, the country that leads in AI will be the ruler of the world. With this technology, especially with its perpetual growth, there's a lot of threats and challenges for humanity that we need to address
But why
immediately.
doesn't someone blow it up? Like, what freaks me out most about AI is how everyone's so passive in its rise, in the face of its rise. It's like, if you think this thing is existentially dangerous, it could extinguish human society, why doesn't someone blow up the servers?
Well,
and everyone's like, oh, there's nothing we could do, and we're very concerned. How concerned are you?
It's not only that.
Like,
There's
what?
also a larger possibility that the AI could already be in charge. We haven't thought about that because if it is, the people in charge wouldn't be telling everyone, the AI's here, guys. They would be using it for their own sinister purposes. So I think we could be living in a situation where the AI is having more of an effect on our lives than we could even realize right now.
I think you can't blow it up because it's actually, you could knock out servers, but the data itself that writes the code is decentralized.
Well, then
and
it's an
prolific.
autonomous being, and it obviously is not, you can't hand control of human society over to a non-human. Like, I'm not, I'm a sub-genius, and even I get that, so what are we doing?
I think the code should be open so that we can see what this thing's doing at the very least. But I think of it as an inevitability like the atom bomb. Like whoever gets it first is going to control the planet for 50 years.
This is the issue. You have all of these different companies basically agreeing, hey, this thing's going to be really dangerous, but if we don't do
want
it,
it.
they will. Right, so we better be the ones in control of it. And you have governments.
And you can
that are
argue
moving towards
open
this.
sourcing the code is too dangerous. If they'd open sourced the Manhattan Project and Hitler built it first, we'd probably all be speaking German right now. So that's a very real thing. Like secrecy is a valuable tool in global domination. And it's not like you have to try and dominate, but like if you just sit back behind your walls and wait, someone's coming one day.
We don't have walls is the thing.
Well,
we don't even have that luxury. We don't have walls to sit behind.
You have pods.
I don't believe that there is a practical solution, and that is deeply worrisome. Because I don't think people truly.
You really don't? Like, it's past the point that we can control it.
We may be past the event horizon, the point at which the pull towards AI is so great, there's no backing away from it. We're being sucked in faster and faster.
I think you can go into it with these neural nets. A human that understands the code can go into the system, be in the virtual realm, and reverse engineer the code. You can see what's happening and how it's being written in real time and change it with their minds. It's true.
I mean, maybe.
I would just do it with a keyboard, man. I'm not going into that.
But listen, this is Elon Musk's argument. We must integrate with the machine lest we get a Terminator-like scenario.
Does anyone
And that's
sincerely
worse.
think this is going to end well? I mean, honestly.
No, but listen, this is the scary thing. This is what people need to understand about the singularity event. When AI, when it actually turns on, when we reach artificial general intelligence,
We might be there.
and we might be there and just not know it. It's a point at which the machine itself exponentially improves itself. So if the rate of growth for the computer systems that we're building is, say, Moore's Law, it doubles every 2 years. Once we reach the point of AI singularity, or I guess you could call it artificial general intelligence, it's just straight to the top, right up to the point of near infinity, where this machine is improving itself, learning faster and faster and calculating faster, and then it's beyond our comprehension, like nearly instantly.
So the people who created that are evil. I mean, right?
Yeah.
And so why are they rich and powerful?
I would say it's many of them. I would argue there is what I would refer to as the banality of evil. That it is a commonplace endeavor to get a job working for a company that's developing this and having no idea that you are starting the fire which could be the destruction of human individualism.
I'm with Tucker. The indifference from people that could do something is unbelievable to me. I'm not an expert on it at all. I'm with Tucker. I don't understand except the possible threat. But why have we not had some form of a government-mandated pause on this thing?
Because it's not going to stop China.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that mean? That means that they're going to have their own supercomputer that can then kill their people?
Well, but
No,
this
the
is
Western
thing too,
globalists
because
working in China.
What I
Wait, hold on. How are they going to develop AI that they can control?
There are also, I'm just as frightened about all of it as you guys are, but there are also certain applications that are clearly far worse that I don't think China's developing that we need to stop. So for example, I saw somebody posting about an AI dating bot on the internet where men who are too scared to talk to women start talking to this thing, and it's trained to tell them what they want to hear, and that is going to destroy so many lives. That should be immediately stopped from happening. If civil authorities were interested in promoting the common good, that would be banned. You would not be able to sell that. You would not be able to make that.
We actually have a big breaking story about this, and James O'Keefe, waiting on deck to come and talk to us about it, but I know that, Tucker, you want to hang out and keep talking about this.
Of course, yeah.
Then, Ian, would you mind swapping out with James?
Yeah, but I'm going to come out here and rub your shoulders at some point.
All right. So,
Ian, we love you.
But this is actually perfect timing. James O'Keefe has a big story on IBM. These are computer companies and their views on woke gender ideology. So he's waiting right now if you want to run back and send him out.
See you later,
And then
everybody.
James can probably provide some insights into us as to what these...
You are now group leader. You have been promoted to group leader. Another agent is now in your group. Another agent has joined your group.
We'll send a helo for extraction when you're done. We haven't been able to get a hold of Agent Barker. We don't know what you're walking into. So Bell dropped you outside the estate's gardens. You'll need to find a way onto the grounds to secure the site.
Hostiles detected.
Heads up, Agent. Cleaners on site. Take out those hostiles and secure the garden. How the hell did they transport that thing? Agent, the cleaners have a napalm mortar. I think I know why we're after Barker. Heads up, Agent. These cleaners must have developed a new fueling system. They're not wearing their regular gear, so if you were planning on blowing their tanks, you're gonna need to find a new way to handle this threat.
Vital signs critical.
If you want to secure the garden, you're gonna need to take out that turret.
An agent needs assistance. Serious trauma detected. Agent down. Immediate medical assistance needed. Agent out of action. Agent deceased.
Great work, Agent. You took out those turrets. You'll need to clear the area to reach the gate.
An agent needs assistance. Serious trauma detected. agent is no longer in your group. Electronic device detected.
Damn it. There's no way into the estate from here. Try the courtyard. There should be a gate.
Backup request sent.
Looks like the cleaners have been through here, but they didn't sanitize the place. This isn't their style. Something's off.
Happy birthday. Thanks. Don't be sad, Eminem. I'm not sad, Nat. Really? You're not? You're so brave, Eminem. I mean, if both of my parents died in an awful accident, I'd be dead.
Agents, we need to locate the civilians before the cleaners sterilize the estate. Is that a dragon? What the hell were they planning here? Be careful, Agent. Check out the truck. Make sure it's not rigged to blow or something. We can figure out what to do with it later. It's a trap. Cleaners incoming. Be careful. They're headed for the truck. That thing is basically a bomb.
Vital signs critical. Agent incapacitated. Agent deceased. Immediate medical assistance needed. Vital signs critical. Agent out of action. An agent needs assistance. Agent deceased. An agent has disconnected.
Is that a dragon? What the hell were they planning here? Be careful, Agent. trap. Cleaners incoming. Be careful. They're headed for the truck. That thing is basically a bomb.
Immediate medical assistance needed. Agent incapacitated. Agent killed.
The truck is taking a lot of damage. You need to take out those cleaners attacking the truck before it blows. Is that a dragon? What the hell were they planning here? Be careful, Agent. It's a trap. Cleaners incoming. Be careful. They're headed for the truck. That thing is basically a bomb.
Serious trauma detected.
Holy crap!
Agent out of action. Agent killed.
Is that a dragon? What the hell were they planning here? Be careful, Agent.
You are no longer in a...
It's a trap. Cleaners incoming. Be careful. They're headed for the truck. That thing is basically a bomb.
Immediate medical assistance needed. Agent killed.
The truck is taking a lot of damage. You need to take out those cleaners attacking the truck before it blows. That truck can't take much more damage. Focus on the cleaners attacking the truck.
Safe area detected. You have received an invite to a raid group. Joined raid group.
Body different. Y'all ain't dating. Dating, then you wouldn't be talking to Green. Girl, y'all are talking. I'm not talking about Green, I'm talking about the other guy.
Nah, I'm only just talkless because like I got a lot of background noise going on, so.
This is our revenge!
Serious trauma detected. Agent vital signs 0.
I be spending more time at the range.
Agent deceased. Agent vital signs 0.
None of them left.
They thought we'd be an easy target. Not anymore.
Give it to me straight, Manny.
It's bad, Major. A new faction has formed around Colonel Ridgway.
out of action. Agent deceased.
They're coming around! Got you covered! Think good medicine! That shield can't protect you!
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Like hell.
Unloading on target! We're moving on the flank!
Serious trauma detected. Agent vital signs 0.